Welcome back, Primary 6. This is chapter 7 and 8 of Light on Dumyat. Chapter 7 The Clan Gathers. An hour later, Gavin was lying hidden in a large area of fern and bracken on the edge of the rocky side of the valley. He could see the pool and the entrance to the cave. It was very peaceful there, lying still in the warm sunshine. Then, without warning, a shadow fell across the grass in front of him. Gavin swung round. Standing behind him was a girl of his own age and two boys, one about a year younger. All three carried bows. Each had an arrow aimed at him. Gavin noted with alarm. The girl spoke first. "What were you doing in our cave?" she said fiercely. "I didn't know it was your cave," said Gavin. They eyed one another warily. "We saw you spying on us," said the girl. "We don't like people following us." "I wasn't following you," said Gavin. "I'm here on holiday and I found your cave by following the marks on the rocks." There was a long silence while they eyed one another. Then the older boy spoke. "Will you promise not to tell anyone what you found?" "Yes, I promise," said Gavin. It seemed the best thing to say when there was three arrows pointed at him. "But what's your cave for? Do you play there?" he asked. The three eyed one another. Then the girl spoke again. "We're a clan," she said. "The cave is our headquarters." "Oh, I'm in a clan," said Gavin, pleased at having hit on a point of friendship. "You can't be. You're not Scottish," said the smallest boy, speaking for the first time. "I am in a clan," retorted Gavin hotly. "My aunt said so. My mother's name was McCrae, so I'm in the clan McCrae." The three exchanged glances again. "Well," said the girl, "if you are in a clan, perhaps that's different." She smiled slightly. "Do you like our hats? They're called Balmorals." Gavin studied the strange hats they all wore. They were dark blue, rather like a beret with a flat piece underneath. At the back, two little dark ribbons hung down. In front was pinned a metal brooch. "What's your badge for?" Gavin asked. The girl took her hat off and handed it to him. The badge showed an oak leaf with a motto underneath, the whole thing surrounded by a border resembling a thick belt and buckle. "It's the badge of the Clan Stuart," the girl said. "That's us. We're the Clan Stuart. If you have a clan, you can join us, if you like." Gavin smiled. "What do you do?" he asked. "Oh, we stay in our cave, practice being hunters in the hills, watch birds, cook things on fires. The clansmen of long ago would live in the hills for months. They could move silently and know all about wild animals and birds. We followed you from your house this morning," she went on. "You didn't see us, but that magpie nearly gave us away." "Yes," said Gavin. "It gave me quite a fright. I thought I saw a man in the woods as well." A man?" said the girl. "That's odd. So did we. But when we went to have a look there was nothing to be seen. He must have pushed off somewhere. Probably a poacher. They sometimes snare rabbits along the foot of the hill. That's why we are so careful that they don't find our cave." "It's very well hidden," said Gavin. "Where do you live?" "We live on a farm," she said. "We pretend we live in the cave." "It sounds good fun," said Gavin. "What's your name?" he asked, after a pause. The girl drew herself up. "My name is Claire Stuart of the Clan Stuart," she said in ringing tones. "This is my brother Michael, and this is my other brother Tom, but we call him Mott." Michael chimed in. "When we was small, he tried to write his name. He was left-handed and he wrote it backwards. Tom backwards, Mott. We still called him Mott long after he could write Tom." Mott grinned shyly and held out his hand. Gavin shook it, feeling slightly self-conscious. He liked the look of the children, with their blue berets, dark anoraks, and sunburned skin. They really did look something like the clansmen in the library picture. They all had rucksacks like his, only smaller. "Let's go down to the burn," said Claire, "and we can talk better there. It's hidden, in case there are any people climbing the hill." She quickly picked her way down the rocks to the grass of the hidden valley. Gavin followed, admiring the neat way she climbed down. Michael and Mott went next, their bows slung across their shoulders so they would use their hands. "Do you hunt with the bows?" asked Gavin. "Oh, yes," said Michael, "but only rabbits. We've only hit one once, but we did kill it. We were rather sorry, really. Claire took it home and Mum took it off its fur and insides out," he continued. "Then we brought it back here and we cooked it." Mott laughed. "It took us nearly all afternoon to get a decent fire going. You see, it had been wet for days before, and we had a job finding any kind of dry wood." "Do you cook in the cave?" asked Gavin. "No," said Claire. "The smoke might attract attention. We always cook beside the burn, as the valley is well hidden, and hardly anyone sees. If they do see us, they simply think we're having a picnic. They never think there is a cave nearby." Michael added, "Besides, we try to be as secret as possible. We never leave any litter. And when we make a fire, we always keep the turf we cut out. Look." He dug with his fingers at the turf, a large square-shaped piece easily lifted up. Below it was a blackened square. "We can use stones to hem the fire in," said Claire. "But even when the turf is back in place, some of the scorch marks can be seen. But only someone passing close would be able to see it." "Do you sleep in the cave?" asked Gavin. "Sometimes," said Michael, "but only when we're on holiday and during the summer. It gets very cold in winter. We never use it then." "We take all our stuff back home," said Mott, "and hide it in our rooms until spring." "We're planning a snow expedition at Easter," said Claire. "The Highlanders of long ago were very tough. They slept in the snow without any blankets or tents. Mum won't let us do that. But she says we can have a snow expedition with sledges if we're careful." "Gosh," said Gavin, "that sounds fun." He was very impressed. "Oh, it's only to the top of Ben Cleuch," said Claire. "That's the biggest hill of the Ochils. It's quite a long way away." Gavin followed her pointing finger. He could see Ben Cleuch, a long brown shape rising above the surrounding hills. Mott, who had listened silently for a time, suddenly chimed in. "How did you find our cave?" Claire and Michael leaned forward intently, feeling he was on trial. Gavin began haltingly. He told them of the reasons for him being on holiday and how he had seen the light from his bedroom window. "You clot, Mott," said Claire. "I told you someone would see it." "Well, it wasn't my fault," said Mott indignantly. "The pole slipped. Besides, the wood isn't fitting properly." Seeing Gavin looking mystified, he added, "We crept out of the house one night and decided to visit the cave. We've made a little wooden shutter with grass and moss stuck on one side. It fits the gash of the roof of the cave." Mott went on. "The shutter fits the edges of the gash exactly, but it's got a bit damp recently, and the wood was warped. When we were in the cave and had the lantern lit, the shutter came crashing down. I tried to put it up again as quickly as possible, but it crashed down." "Silly idiot," said Claire witheringly. "What's the pole for?" asked Gavin, remembering the long thick wooden pole with notches cut in it. "Oh, that's so Mott can climb up to the shutter," said Michael. "He's the lightest. We couldn't carry anything heavier up to the cave. So we borrowed this pole from the farm and took it up one night. Claire cut notches in it with a farm saw." Mott explained, "If I lean it against the wall, I can walk up the notches. It's a bit difficult, really. Sometimes it slips." "He's a really good climber," said Claire. "He climbed your ivy, by the way," said Michael with a grin. Mott looked bashful. Gavin took the cross out of his pocket. "Why did you put that on my window?" he asked. "We thought that you were spying on us," said Claire. "So we thought we'd give you a fright. We didn't know you were in a clan then. If you want to join us, though, there are some secret things you must know," he said. "Will you swear secrecy to the Holy Iron?" "All right," said Gavin, wondering what the Holy Iron was. Claire reached into her rucksack and drew out the roll of tartan cloth Gavin had seen in the cave. She pulled out the jewelled dagger. "This is a Highland dagger," she said. "It's called a dirk. We found it one day in a chest in the loft, long ago. The Highlanders swore oaths on the blade of their dirk." She continued, "Put your hand on the blade." Gavin did so. Say after me, I promise to keep the secrets of Clan Stewart. So Gavin said, I promise to keep the secrets of Clan Stewart. Fine, said Claire. Now, we'll explain all about the cave. Come on, let's go there. So leaving Mott outside as a lookout, Claire was still slightly perturbed about the mysterious poacher. Gavin, Claire and Michael clambered up the rocks to the cave. Chapter 8. Back to the cave. Claire took a small pocket knife out of her anorak and quickly inserted it into the door catch. It's a bit stiff at the moment, she said. The plaster keeps falling off and we have to renew it. Just before you came, we had finished it off and it looked quite good. We found that real moss was growing on it in some places. She pulled the door open and crawled in. Gavin and Michael followed her. Pull the door behind you, said Claire. Mott can open it himself. For the second time in 2 days, Gavin found himself crawling along the short passage. Have you a torch? Asked Claire. Gavin brought his head torch out of his rucksack. Put it on, said Claire. My batteries are running low. Gavin thankfully switched on. Michael also produced a small torch. They entered the cave, the light beam sweeping around the glinting on the boxes and the shield on the wall, throwing the red tartan cloth into sharp relief. Sit down, said Claire, and I'll tell you about the cave. How did you find it? Asked Gavin. It's an old silver mine, Michael chimed in. We were playing up here one day and saw the opening, so we ran home for candles and then crawled in. We were a bit afraid, said Claire. A lot of the rock on Dumyat is not very safe. We call it pudding stone, though that's not its real name. She went across to one wall, kicked a few splinters off a protruding rock and passed them to Gavin. He examined them. They were just like rounded puddings stuck together. He glanced nervously at the roof. It's all right, said Michael. There's only one patch beside that wall that is loose. The rest is quite firm. Claire flashed her torch on the wall, then turned the beam on Michael. Give Mott a shout and we'll take down the shutter. It's silly to waste batteries. Michael obediently set off for the entrance. The climbing pole is a bit thin for Michael and me, said Claire, after Michael had disappeared. We leave the shutter in place because rain can blow in. Jackdaws and pigeons would also get inside and make a mess. In a few minutes, Michael was back with the grinning Mott. There's no one around, said Mott, getting to his feet and dusting himself. Open the shutter, Mott, commanded Claire. Gavin watched with interest as Mott went to one wall, picked up the long pole and set it against the wall below the gash he had seen when he first entered the cave. Very carefully, Mott began to climb up, placing his feet slowly in the cut slots. Soon he was above their heads. Hold the pole steady, he shouted down. Claire and Michael held it on either side. Mott reached up and detached the shutter. He lowered it carefully on an attached rope to the floor at the cave. Light flooded in, making Gavin blink. They all switched off their torches. We found the cave last year, said Claire. It was mined and goes much further into the hill, but has been blocked up. Look. She pulled aside the tartan cloth. Behind it was a heap of piled boulders and rubble. We tried to move a lot at Get In, said Michael, but there's too much of it, so we just covered it up. When we got inside the main entrance, said Claire, we found that there were 2 wooden posts at each side. We don't know what they were for. Perhaps the miners had a little door to keep sheep out or something like that. Anyway, she went on, we asked Dad for some old wood and we made a door to fit. Dad gave us some hinges and a catch, said Michael, but we didn't tell him exactly what it was for. He just asked us to be careful. It took us a day to carry the door up here and to fit it up, added Mott. The plaster was the worst part. We tried everything, said Michael. It kept falling off, said Claire. But in the end, we bought some outdoor glue solution that Dad uses on the farm buildings. We mixed that with the plaster and coated the door with it. We painted it like the rock and then stuck moss and lichen to it. When it's freshly done, it looks like very real rock. I know, said Gavin. I only found it by accident. I didn't know where you had gone, and I was simply scraping at the rock to pass the time. The weather affects it, said Claire, but if we keep repairing the camouflage, no one will ever find it. She looked affectionately around the cave. I bet no one has ever had such a good hideout, she said with satisfaction. Have you shown Gavin the marks? Said Maud. What marks? Asked Gavin. Claire stood up and pointed to one wall. There were patches of red stone seaming the grey rocks and sections of white quartz. Every now and again there were smooth scorings about 2 centimetres wide and 30 centimetres long. We think these are dynamite markings, said Claire. The mine is hundreds of years old, but later miners tried to widen it to see if the silver had been dug out. Dad says it all gone wrong. She sat down on one of the wooden benches. Sit down, she said to Gavin. It's silly to stand. Mott and Michael took off their bows and hung them on pegs driven into cracks in the wall. Gavin also sat down. Did you make the seats? He asked. Yes, said Claire. Dad gave us some old wood and we brought it up here. Michael and Mott hammered them together to make the seats and the table. It can get slightly damp if there's a lot of rain, so we keep everything in tin boxes. That's one of the reasons we made the shutter for the gash, she went on. It stops anyone seeing our light if we are here in the dark, and it keeps the wet out when we are away. Gavin sat back on his seat with a feeling of pleasure. It was fun to be sitting in a hidden cave, talking to his new friends. What are the sashes for? He said, pointing to the wall. Oh, these are the 3 tartans of the clan Stuart, said Claire. She handed them to Gavin. The red one is Royal Stuart, the tartan worn by the pipers in the Highland regiments. The green one is Hunting Stuart, a tartan worn for hunting. It can't be seen very easily. And the last one is Stuart of Appin, one of the main branches of the clan. We only wear them on important occasions. There are some other Stuart tartans, but we've missed them out. What does the clan do? Asked Gavin. Claire glanced at Mott and Michael. You said he could join, said Michael. He'll have to take the oath, said Mott. But I took the oath, said Gavin. I swore on the holy iron. That was just to see the cave, said Claire. To join the clan, you must go through the full ceremony of allegiance. But I suppose I can tell you a little. We tried to find out about Scottish history. Gavin's face fell. History? How dull. Claire saw his look and said hurriedly, but we make it good fun. We play at being clansmen, and we try to teach ourselves to live on the hills and in the woods in all weathers, and to move silently like wild animals. And to watch birds and keep diaries and notebooks about them, said Mott. Oh, I'm interested in birds, said Gavin. Mott looked pleased. He opened a tin box beside him. We keep a list of the birds that we've seen. So far, we've seen 88 different species. Gavin gasped. 88? Why, he had seen only about 20 so far. He studied the notebook Mott gave him, his eyes running down the names. Buzzards, herons, 3 kinds of owl, sparrow, hawk, oystercatcher, birds, and had never heard of. I saw a peregrine, he said. Yes, said Mott. It nests nearby, on Craig Leith, the large hill with the crag at the top. Yes, I remember it, said Gavin. We do other things as well, said Michael. Soon Dad is going to teach us how to be proper mountaineers and how to climb the mountain in winter. We picnic and swim in the pool in the hidden valley, said Claire. We build huts in the woods and light fires and cook on them, and we explore the ochils as much as we can. It sounded fun, Gavin thought. Birds, huts, cooking on fires and exploring. He remembered something one of the others had said. And you don't cook at all in the cave? He asked. No, said Claire. We found the smoke could be seen pouring out of the gash, and it made the cave smell bad. So we just cook in the hidden valley. My aunt has a portable stove, said Gavin, remembering that he had seen one in her kitchen cupboard. I could perhaps borrow that, and you could cook a meal in the cave. Mott and Michael were visibly impressed. That's great, said Claire. We can have a clan council for your oath of allegiance, and then we can have a feast afterwards. Good, said Gavin. Well, that's settled. There's just one thing, said Claire. You'll have to pass an initiation test first.